Hello world, welcome back to Razor RC. Just want to talk about a little bit of adjustments I've made to my Traxxas Maxx. So I've had this truck since it came out, about a year ago? And I've been driving a lot of different conditions. It's starting to get a little beat up now, but just want to cover how to address the biggest weakness of the Maxx, and that is that it rolls over way too much, especially if you're driving on the street, any sort of like high traction surface, asphalt, pavement, that kind of thing. It really is no fun at all because it just flips over every time you try to do a turn, basically, any sort of speed. So I've been playing with the suspension and the setup quite a bit, trying to get it to run a little better, and it's working pretty good. Going to go through the setup changes I made, as well as put some running footage at the end so you kind of see the difference in how it runs. So first off, I do have another setup video talking about some changes I made for general bashing. This is more of a street tune, really intended for on-road type surfaces where you might be running the Maxx and having problems with traction rolls. That really is the biggest weakness. So first of all, definitely run the battery up front. There's way too much weight in the rear. Moving it up just kind of balances out a little bit. And then the big changes are pretty much just to the suspension tuning. There's no real expensive parts or anything that you have to buy, but the only thing you really need to get are the blue springs for the rear. So these are intended for the wide Maxx suspension. My truck is like pretty much completely stock, but if you get the blue wide Maxx springs, they are a lot stiffer. Throw them on the rear shocks like that, and then take your original rear springs and move them to the front. And then in terms of actual preload spacers or preload adjustment, I'm just running, probably about 3 threads showing on the rear, and then no threads showing on the front. So just back these out all the way. What you want is really your truck sitting as low as possible. You still kind of want it balanced. You still want the chassis to be kind of flat and horizontal, but you want to run this thing as low as possible. That keeps it balanced and gets it quite a bit lower. That helps a lot in itself. Second thing I did was change the shock oil. So I'm actually running 40 weight shock oil up front and 50 weight in the rear. Those are associated oils. You can use pretty much any brand. They're all pretty close, but 40 weight front, 50 weight rear. And then the last thing I did was pretty much run the shocks all the way out to the outer hole. So there's 2 positions on each shock on the A-arm. You want to run them out on the rear and then also all the way out on the front. So that, again, what that does is basically allow the truck to sit lower because the shocks are a little more flatter. They also reduce the amount of droop, which is basically how much the shock and wheel extend below the chassis. If you run them on the inner hole, the wheels will actually hang down a little bit lower. And the problem with that is that as you go around a corner and the weight kind of shifts out to the outside, you're actually lifting the inside wheel. And if you have a little bit more shock extension or a little more droop, it actually allows it to roll even more. So running on those outer positions actually makes the truck roll a little bit less and not lift up that inside wheel quite as much. So yeah, that's pretty much it on the changes I made. It does not completely eliminate traction rolling. You can still flip the car if you are actually going at pretty fast and then try to yank the wheel, but it reduces the rollovers, I'd say, by about 50 to 70%. So it is actually drivable and fun to drive now on pavement or asphalt or whatever. The other thing it does is since it's sitting down quite a bit lower, not quite as lifted up high, the center of gravity is quite a bit lower, and so if you do actually flip, it does actually tend to kind of fall back onto its wheels again. With the Maxx, it's got a high center of gravity chassis, it's got a really tall body, a lot of weight up top, so normally when you flip the car, it tends to kind of flip over back onto its roof and kind of stay there, and so that's kind of annoying. When you run it a little bit lower and put the weight down low, it actually tends to land on its feet a little bit more, so you're not having to go over there and flip it over or use a self-righting thing or whatever. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out this running footage. Definitely hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Look forward to you soon. Take care.